Thanks for you guys showing up. Appreciate the coverage you guys give us. Not quite as full a room as it was last year, so I guess some of you guys celebrated last night. But appreciate you being here. Appreciate the coverage you give us and what college football means to so many. And I appreciate these two young men for what they've meant to our program, and all our fans that spent a lot of money to come out here and celebrate with us and play in a national championship, which is really hard to do. I have a great appreciation for our players, our coaches, our training staff, our support staff. There's just like hundreds of people that sacrifice time away from their family to give us an opportunity to play in an event last night. And a lot of thanks to the CFP for what they put on, and an incredible event, and we certainly appreciate it.
We're going to take our first question right down here, very front.
Hey, Kirby, Zach Klein from Channel 2 in Atlanta. First thing, Stetson was supposed to be here this morning. How's the young man feeling the day after? And two, a few days ago, you were talking about your season for next year start actually today. Are you going to put that on pause and appreciate what you guys were able to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, I am concerned about our season in next year. I'll be thinking about that the entire flight home and things we can do right now. Like what's important now, right? WIN, that's our motto. And I know people think that's like unheard of, but you actually have to. There'll be time to take off. It's just not today because decisions are imminent. We have several players on our team who stuck it out. Like they didn't have to. They could have said, I'm going in the portal. We had several guys that said, Coach, I'd like to go in the portal. I'm going to go in the portal, but I want to win a national championship. And like, that makes me want to cry because they did it for the team over themselves. And that makes me really proud. So, you know, that time is now for them because the portal is a real thing. It's a vehicle to go somewhere else where you can be successful. And we had some guys make sacrifices to do that. So I think that's pretty cool. As far as Stetson, I don't know. I didn't see him, obviously.
Take our next question right here on our left in the front. Dennis?
Kirby, you said somewhere or another in the run-up to this game that it's human nature just to let down after winning one. You talk about that, and how do you get to 3?
Yeah, I really don't want to talk about 3. I mean, that's it's human nature to relax. It's human nature to take the easy route, and I can be as guilty of that as anyone. But it wasn't this team's nature to relax. This team, this wasn't as hard a job as people made it seem because of the people we recruited, not because of talent, but because of what they were like, the DNA inside them. Like these dudes, this team was different. This team was just different. And every time they were backed against the wall, they came out scratching, clawing. Like we had a bad practice, we'd have a great practice. They responded to everything. So the team's like makeup. You know, I didn't talk about this enough last night. Our team GPA was the highest we've ever had in like 15 years at Georgia. Georgia's not easy. Georgia's hard academically. So like when you have people that do well in school, they care about each other. I mean, Georgia's not getting easier academically. You have a chance at success, and these guys bought into that. So like starting to think about the next one, I do think it's going to be much tougher, and I do think we're gonna have to reinvent ourselves next year because you can't just stay the same. And like these two guys up here, like they're coming back, and we have a lot of guys, in my opinion, that are going to come back, and it's easy to get comfortable, and comfortable does not win.
Stay down here on the front row to our left.
Hey, Kirby, Ralph Russo from the Associated Press, and it's a follow-up to what Dennis just asked. Because you are, trying to build something greater than a one-off championship, than just a championship team, you're trying to build a championship program. Does this season, I don't know if validate the right word, but provide a little bit more proof of concept that you are building, that your vision is really coming true?
It's awesome, but I don't want their careers. I don't want their self-worth or our program's self-worth to be built on just championships. I get it. I get that's what you define, Joe Montana on, Tom Brady on, LeBron and Kobe and Michael Jordan on the number of championships. I don't want these young men to be defined by that. I don't want my career to be defined by that, because I know tons of coaches and players out there that didn't get one that had unbelievable careers. So I never hang a hat or say, you validate. All I want to do is be the best I can be today. And I want these kids to know that they need to be the best they can each and every day so they can be successful. And if you measure success based on wins in each day, that's what I want our success to be measured on.
Next question over, still to our left or in the middle.
Kirby, the question was all week about Darnell. What did you see from him as he was working to Monday night, trying to be able to play, and then the fact he was able to play at all, just what it said about Darnell?
Yeah, I think our training staff did a phenomenal job, and they can do the greatest job in the world, but if the player doesn't want to buy into that, then it's probably not going to happen. So he was not able to practice the entire time we were in Athens. We came to L.A., he ran with the team and ran decent on the first day we were here, and then he practiced. And we felt like there was going to be a good chance he was going to be able to play. There was no chance of doing any more damage. And Darnell, is a classic guy that came to Georgia with the sole purpose of having an opportunity at the NFL. He wanted to play in the NFL. And by the time he left, he was one of the toughest players we had. Missouri, his shoulder pops out, and he will not come out of the game. I mean, he made 2 probably career-defining catches against Missouri, contested catches with a shoulder that was hurt, and he wouldn't come out. LSU, he gets cut. He's 6'7", and they cut him right at his ankles and shins. Nothing worse than that, and he's waving people off. I'm not coming out. Like, I'm pissed off. And to see that growth and see him care about winning the game last night, like he played last night selflessly. Not a lot of throws targeted for Darnell. It was blocking and covering people up. And that part will always hold a special place in my heart for the sacrifices he made for our team.
Next question over here, slightly to our right on the aisle.
Yeah, Coach Brooks Austin with Dogs Daily. I feel like I watched you guys morph week in and week out. At one point this season, you said there was 0 overlap for 4 weeks defensively. What kind of football intelligence, you talked about the GPA, what kind of football intelligence does it require to have to play at Georgia?
Yeah, a lot. JB will tell you, man, we spend a lot of time. I don't know how other people do it, so I don't want to brag and say, oh, well, we do this or that. I don't know what other people do. But I do know at our place, we expand the brain. Like we stretch it and we stretch it and we stretch it. And then when you need to stretch it more in the game and change something, they have a comfort level with change. Like he sits in a meeting every day. We make him talk. We make him communicate. We make him take notes because we think that's going to be the difference in the end. And it makes things easier to go from an offense that might be completely different when you're not afraid to change. And hey, I want to go. A lot of talk last night about Stetson and Brock and offense, and this guy's the defensive MVP. But our defensive staff now, Coach Schumann, Coach Muschamp, Chidera, Fran, and Trey Scott did a hell of a job. Now that was, I don't know, 4th, 5th leading scoring offense in the country. I don't care what league you play in. Pretty incredible.
Next question over here to our far right on the aisle.
Yeah, Kirby, Mike Griffith from AJC Dog Nation. Obviously, Brock's had an incredible career. We know about his All-American status, and Stetson's, I guess, legacy is probably the best word. You had a couple of former three-star recruits this year in Kenny McIntosh and Ladd McConkey that, you don't see them getting all the All-American honors or the highlights. Can you talk about what those guys meant to the offense this season in terms of leading the team in yards from scrimmage?
Yeah, Kenny, man, I can't even believe that he would be considered a 3-star. That's just disgusting to even think about because this guy's an incredible athlete. I mean, his brother played in the NFL. He's got great DNA. Kenny is a great example of our program. He came in as a, chubby kid with a great smile, playing behind people, and didn't know how to play on special teams. He left as like an alpha leader, and when he spoke, people really listened to Kenny. Like, I've never seen a person will a team to a win like he did in Missouri. You know, the guy was basically running crippled out there against Missouri and pounding people and running the ball. He took over games. I can remember the Florida game after the fumble. I'll never forget the visualization I have of he fumbles, and we say, you know what, we got to come back to Kenny. And he comes back with vengeance, running the ball, just mad. And those memories will stay with me forever. You know, and Ladd's another one. Ladd's thanks to YouTube and smartphones, I probably wouldn't know who Ladd was, because I watched him at a camp, just unbelievable quickness and suddenness, and he was beating kids that we were recruiting. And I'm like, why is nobody recruiting this guy? Like, what did he do? What did he do to not garner attention? Because all he does is make plays. You know, and there's a certain element of you get a full day's work out of guys like Bull and Brock, man. When they come to practice, we have to slow these two dudes down. Like, hey, slow down. That's how Ladd is. And when you have that kind of culture, it makes success come much easier.
Right down here in the very front.
Mark Weiser, Athens Banner Herald, for Javon and for Kirby. When you hear the words dynasty with Georgia football, do you think that fits this program now?
I mean, this place is special. It's special to all of us. I know it's special to Coach Smart. I know it's special to me. Just growing up as a kid from the state of Georgia and playing for the University of Georgia, it's special. So the word dynasty, I mean, it's something that we're building together, and that was built before us, and it's going to continue to be built after us. So we're just trying to leave our legacy and leave this place in good hands.
You know, it's cool is listening to the guys in the locker room. That locker room last night, you know, it's first class, as good a facility as there is. And I mean, it's probably the newest NFL stadium for all I know. And you got Jamari in there, you got N'Kobe in there, you got DK in there, you got Sony in there. There's so many guys that played come back, and they talk about how much they miss it. And I always tell our players, the players think I'm crazy. They're like, oh, whatever, we want to get to the NFL. All you do when you get to the NFL is want to be back in that locker room, because there's never, I don't care what locker room you got in the NFL, there's never that feeling of brotherhood, because the guy across from you is trying to take your job. And in our locker room, it's so different. And to be around that last night, it brings to me that we built something special, because these guys want to come back. They want to talk to the other guys. Monty Rice, I mean, this guy, he sacrificed everything for our program, and unfortunately didn't get a chance to win one. But I tell them all the time, they're part of these because they created the culture that allows us to win it now. And that's what's special.
Right down here in the very front row.
Chip Towers, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. For Brock, when did you find out this morning that you were going to be coming here? And for Coach Smart, you're flanked by a couple of sophomores right there. We assume they're coming back, but where are you right now with roster management, kind of knowing? Are you still actively dealing with, hey, he might go in the portal, hey, he may turn pro? Where are you with knowing what you got coming back next year?
Yeah, for me, I was coming off the elevator. I saw Coach Smart, and I started walking to go eat some breakfast, and I just got a call, and they said, you're in the bullpen coming to media. I was like, okay. I mean, Stetson's not going to make it. I was like, I guess I got to go. So, yeah.
He's always wanted to be in Stetson's shoes, so now he gets an opportunity. As far as roster management, I mean, it's every day. It's continuous. I mean, we know the juniors coming out, and you mentioned about these guys. They better be coming back because they can't come out. So they better get ready to go to work, and they're going to be some of the key leaders. But we'll be dealing with it every day. I mean, we've been dealing with it up, and it's not like it just goes away, guys. I've been dealing with it a week before, the day of. We were dealing with it yesterday. I mean, we have 19 new guys that started classes yesterday. So we deal with it every single day, and it'll continue to be that way, and you respect the process. My saying is you got to be better at the process than everybody else is. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be better at it than everybody else is. So If you're willing to work at it and have conversations, you manage it the best way you can.
Right here in the front on the aisle.
Good morning, Jeff Sintel, Dog Nation. This is a question for the guys and then Kirby. I guess I want to know, I'm curious about the games that Georgia played that we didn't get to see. Fall camp, when Iron went against Iron, when Javon and Brock were against each other. One, I wanted to know what that was like. And two, Coach, how much is that indicative in your stage in your career where, hey, this is the type of things we do now where we know days like today are possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think like during those spring scrimmages and the fall camp scrimmages, I mean, we're going against the offense, going against probably the best defense and all those guys. So that really helps us out in the long run. And I mean, it really makes games almost easier than practice. So definitely helps.
As far as like that, let me add some offense used to whoop our butt. Like when fall camp first started, man, offense gave us the business. But like Brock said, competing with those guys, man, knowing that you're going up against some of the best guys in the country, if not the best, like I said, it gives you a sure amount of confidence going into the season because like you thinking that you already went against the best. So like when you compare it up to other competition, not to knock them down and nothing like that, but it's just like, okay, I went against Ladd at practice. I went against Brock. Like what better can I get from that?
Yeah, I love the iron sharpens iron. I told our guys, I mean, every scrimmage we have, I said, you think you can get ready to go play teams in our league? You better get ready to play today. If you're not at your best today, you'll get embarrassed. And you're going against the best defense or offense you'll face. And they respect that. Our guys truly respect that. And those matchups, even I go back to the Ohio State week, Tuesday practice, we're in the indoor, and they were, I mean, I was ready to call practice off. They were going at it. And it was like Jalen Carter came to me and said, hey, can we do a bet, Coach, that we win team run over the offense, and whoever wins doesn't have to run, and the other team has to run. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. I mean, I'll go for a game, competition, make it a little fun. I usually don't like motivation tactics like that because it's artificial and you have to simulate it every time. Oh, I thought they were going to kill each other. You know, we had two guys tackle, we injured a back, and I'm like, guys, we're going to cancel practice if y'all keep doing this because they were getting after it. And those are those legendary matchups. I always liken it to the Dream Team when they played, and they talk about how those two teams went at each other, and Jordan took over, and it was like that in our building. And I'm like, if cameras could see these guys go at it, you know, Cedric Van Pran takes so much pride in winning team run, and Jalen Carter takes so much pride in winning team run that there comes a time when you got to call it off. And when you got that, you got something special.
Next question on our far right in the back.
Hey guys, Roger Manus with Atlanta CW. Kirby talks a lot about the selflessness and the sacrifice that you guys as teammates will do for each other. So for Brock and Javon, if you could just talk about that attitude from the player's perspective, being in that locker room. I know you both touched the ball a lot last night, but there's some games where, Brock, you just block, things like that. So just the player's mindset of that culture of being there for each other.
I know, and as far as a defense perspective, you got to just do your job. Not being able to do, not just allowing yourself to do too much. You don't have to be a superstar. This is a help me help you defense. Knowing what you got to do and doing that to your full capability. The prime example that comes to my head is Mark Brackett. Just knowing like, okay, I know Chris Smith filling that alley. I stay inside. Even though I think I could probably make that play, it's not my job to make that play. It's Chris's job to make that play, and it seems to be working out pretty good. So like the selflessness, it's the team DNA is I feel like it's one of our DNA traits. We got so many selfless guys in that locker room last night, and Sherman had came up to us and he gave a speech last night, and it really touched me because he was just like, even if you're not getting in the game, we still need you. He was like, we still need you. We still need your motivation on the sidelines. He was like, don't hold your head low. He was just like, we still need that motivation. We're playing in the national championship. We all get if one person gets a sack, the whole team gets a sack. So that selflessness is just really what this team is really made of.
Yeah, I think it's what he said, just selfishness and just doing your job. Because, I mean, we got so many playmakers on offense that, I mean, everyone's able to touch the ball and make plays. So if it comes down to me blocking somebody from my brother behind me, then I'll just do whatever I need to do to get yards, get first downs, get touchdowns, and win the game.
Take our next question right down here in the very front.
Jeff Schultz of The Athletic. Kirby, obviously the quarterback position has always been about more than just athleticism, but Stetson was the extreme example of that. And you and Todd, I know, both acknowledged that you look the other way too often. I'm just wondering, moving forward, is this going to change the way you evaluate quarterbacks? Are you going to tweak your analysis at all moving forward because of what you just saw?
Oh, I don't know that it'll change the analysis. I definitely put a heavier weight on mobility because of Stetson. I wouldn't say this year, it changed for me as he had success. Last year, his mobility was the difference in a lot of games. Having been a defense coordinator in this league, when you can't account for the extra element, the 11th guy in run game, and it's not even the run game. It's like people pass rush so well now that he's going to have to make a play with his feet. There's a great example last night. I don't know the situation. I don't know if it's first, second quarter. We go empty. They max blitz us. They bring 6 on 5. Everybody does it in college football. We do it, and you can't block one, right? And it reminded me of the Auburn play when Stetson had just taken over. They had a free rusher on him on his outside shoulder. He spins out, beats the guy, and I'm like, who is that? Oh, that's number 13. Well, that's the fast guy. That's D. Winters. He splatters people. So your quarterback just took their defensive coordinator and said, you call the perfect call, and players make plays. So does it change our criteria? I don't know if it changes the criteria. It definitely puts more weight on mobility, and that's a really important factor. Like a scale of 1 to 10, if Stetson's a 8 mobility, you probably can't win without a 6 or a 7 because you got to have somebody that can step out of the way and avoid things in his athleticism. But it's rare to find the athleticism, mobility, but the mental capacity to handle the volume of offense, which that's what makes Stetson unique.
Take our next question to our left in the middle.
Jordan Hill, Dogs 247. Question for Javon. Obviously, you guys on defense are losing some talent to the NFL, but what stands out to you about the guys that are coming back on defense in 2023?
We're a young group. We knew that coming into this year, but just those guys that let me speak on those guys that are leaving. Just a special group of guys. I know a guy that touched me is Chris. I'm gonna miss Chris. Chris is like a brother to me, on and off the field. Jalen Carter, I'm gonna miss JC. But speaking on those guys that are still there, we still got a season to play. It's college football. Those guys came in, they did their thing, they left with a great legacy, and they left with a lot of pride, and we thank them for that, and we love them. But like I said, we still got to play football, and the guys that are coming back are gonna be ready to work. Here come next season.
Take our next question from the camera platform.
Brandon Adams from Dog Nation. This question's for Kirby. You talked about Ladd's story a little earlier. Javon, maybe somewhat similar. In the recruiting process, how important is that scouting part of this? The ability to maybe see what other programs have missed in terms of some of the success stories that you have on this team this year and really throughout your entire time here as Georgia coach?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's got it figured out. I certainly don't think we have a secret sauce for identifying players. We all watch the same tape. The problem is I've come to the conclusion there's very minimal difference between player A and player B if they're both starting, both playing, and they're both getting recruited by SEC schools. There's minimal difference. The difference is in the hardwiring of that player. And I don't know, we all talk about it. We all say, well, I want the right guy. I want intangibles. I want him to have this and that and this and that. Like, the difference in these two is they hate to lose. Like, these guys hate to lose against each other day in and day out. And I've started saying, you know what? You're going to sign 3 D tackles. You're going to sign 5 DBs. You're going to sign 2 tight ends. You're going to sign a quarter. Sign the ones that can't stand losing. And, the ability part is important. It's not to be diminished, but sign the right mental makeup and get people that can develop. And how do you measure that, right? Like you can't measure that just on a phone conversation. You know, these two guys were Zoom babies. They Zoomed. And this guy sent in 100 videos. We've heard about his videos, but Coach Monken Zoomed with him and his coach to sell his coach on how we could use him to make him believe that, you know what, I can be a part of a offense that hadn't used the tight end that way. And so he had to sit on a Zoom, and I'm like, if they'll sit on a Zoom during COVID, they'll probably be successful, because most people won't do that. In recruiting, kids are like, I'm not sitting on a Zoom and talking about that. Well, this guy was sending in videos out in his backyard. You know, he's got a military background. And when you got a military background, you probably got some toughness and some makeup about you that makes you the right way. And we've been fortunate to make some good decisions on kids that, you know, maybe other programs didn't value their intangibles enough.
Take our next question to our slight left in the middle.
Yeah, Connor Riley, Dog Nation. This is for Kirby. Nolan Smith was obviously pretty emotional last night. What makes your relationship with him unique, and what does it say about him that his voice was still just as loud when he wasn't playing for this team as it was when he was?
Well, my relationship with Nolan is unique because Nolan had a commitment to Georgia that was unlike many others. Okay, he was highly touted, considered one of the best players in the country, debatable always, but he committed to Georgia at an early stage in his career, and he stayed committed. And Nolan's one of those rare guys that saw the value in being from Georgia, committing to Georgia, never wavering from Georgia, and leading the class. It reminds me of Richard LeCount, where he just said, you know what, I'm coming, that's where I'm going, and I'm going to affect others. And he never, veered from that. He has some of the toughest DNA qualities I've ever been around. The guy with physical toughness. I mean, you can ask these guys. He never shuts up in the locker room. He's like a motor mouth, but he is people embrace and enjoy him. You know, of our captains, he was the leading vote getter, so it tells you everybody respected him, and he was not playing. Okay, and he was going to check out and go train and go work out. And I said, Nolan, it'll be the greatest mistake of your life if you leave right now and don't finish this, because people will remember how you finished. Whether we win or lose is irrelevant, but the rest of your life, you will be remembered. Were you a captain? Were you there for everybody? Did you stand by this team? Did you impact them in a way without being on the field? Because NFL teams will value someone who can impact their team when they're not playing. And I told him the Ohio State win, about 20% of that win goes to him, because he was over on that sideline, never doubting, and just kept preaching. And it's little things like that make a difference in a team.
Two last questions. I know who you are. We're going to start the first one right here slightly to our right.
Yeah, Brooks Austin, Dogs Daily. Coach, I've heard football coaches for years talking about finding your why. What's your why?
These men. I mean, I know my why every day. I mean, it starts with my family, it starts with my wife over there and our kids, and these men, because there's not one thing I wouldn't do for these men. And I hate being in that locker room for the last time, because that team will never be together again. You know, and Coach Rick always touched me when he talked about Paul Oliver, and he talked about, you know, this is a young man that ended up losing his life because he felt like he didn't have somewhere to turn, and his career was over, and he felt like he was defined by football. And these guys play football, but that's not who they are. And I think life's a whole lot bigger, and it's a lot more important to me that I'm a good father and husband than I am a coach. And I tell my wife, I texted her last night before the game, I said, I was like, I feel like I haven't been as good a husband and father as I can be, because I spend so much time doing this. And you know what? These men are why I do it. And I do it for them because I want them to be successful, and I want the University of Georgia to have impacted their life like it did mine.
Last question right here, slightly to our left.
Seth Emerson at The Athletic. This is for Javon and Kirby, because you're both from Georgia. Sorry, Brock. Do you all have an appreciation level for Georgia being in this position, two-time defending champions, after years of people wondering whether Georgia would ever get back to this point?
here and step on that field and wear that G, it means the world to me. Like I couldn't dream this big, and the fact that I'm, you know what I'm saying, living out my dream, I just give all the thanks and glory to my God, and I couldn't be happier. It means the world to me, and I know it means the world to Coach Smart too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Javon more. We were talking coming over here about high school football and how much it means in our state, and we'll always recruit the nation to find guys like Brock, but we'll always recruit our home base because it just means so much in our state, and it's been a state starved for success and for something good to happen. And it usually happens in cycles. You go through these cycles of times where you can be successful, and right now we've got a good thing going, and we want more kids in our state to want to join us because we do have a special thing going.
Thanks to each of you, and again, congratulations. That concludes today's Champions Press News Conference.